Dilly Dally Alley. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yes, I'm very excited. Tell us a little bit about your band.
Yeah. So we are called Dilly Dally Alley. We got started last year. We are a neo-soul indie funk band, and we are self-proclaimed as eternally seeking out the perfect groove. So we like to consider ourselves a raucous bunch, a six-piece group. We pride ourselves in live performances. A lot of our tunes are best heard live, in my opinion, in the way that we interact with each other. We're all jazz cats and are just really here to bring community and good grooves to the people. Yeah.
And you have an album coming out?
Yep, May 12th. It's called Make You Whole. It's a collection of tunes I wrote I guess over the course of the pandemic, really. And yeah, I mean, I can talk more about that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I've just heard a few of the songs already. Yeah, and I love it. It's funny to me to think of. I mean, it must be funny to do an album when you really love to play live, but it sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. Tell us a little about Make You Whole is one of that. I love that song.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll maybe be playing that for the sets here. Yeah, I mean, I wrote a lot of these songs in a time and a place, almost as, I guess, almost like little lanterns for me to be able to have the bravery to dive into vulnerable and maybe icky bits of myself that I wouldn't otherwise have the bravery to look at in myself. So a lot of the tunes are about kind of being able to accept my sexuality, my flaws as a person if somebody I love rejects me, myself, making sure I've cleaned out all of the emotions in my conscious basement before diving into a serious relationship, kind of the fear before you do something like that, the dealing with kind of just the forces of the planet and where we're headed as society and all the big whopping anxieties that's associated with that. And I think the hope with Make You Whole is to empower folks to also walk with us in that and to be able to almost use it as a guide for yourself if you are really struggling to digest something within you that otherwise would seem ugly or icky or just too scary to deal with, as a salve and an accompaniment for you to see beauty in that and almost build an altar out of all of that icky stuff and transform it into something beautiful. And in the same breath, it's groovy, it's catchy. We like to put good hooks and melodies in it, so you can listen to it in whatever capacity you want. You don't have to listen to any of the lyrics. You don't have to know what it's about. You could just dance in your kitchen to it if you wanted. But it's almost the hope is that it's an invitation for you to be able to look inward at things that may otherwise just be difficult to look at.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I like that we sort of, sometimes we need to recognize, and to see the ickiness in us. What I think is icky in me is often what makes people like me.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that the...
Yeah. Yes. No, I think our vulnerabilities are our superpowers, and I think some of my favorite people in this world are just so unbelievably gracious and able to look at their flaws as kind of like a fate-filled joke, just take it with such humility and grace that it becomes something just erroneously beautiful. Yeah, I mean, even the title track of Make You Whole is about actually it's about a near-death experience in the Boundary Waters, just from paddling around and making a silly decision during a storm. But the mantra from that whole track, I think, is really hitting home. I wrote it that very same day when the waters were really calm and the storm had calmed. We had found a safe campsite. Everything was okay. There was just this magnificent bright mango sorbet orange sunset, loons flying across, and I think it was almost that rupture from the morning of holy moly, we were just completely useless animal, just completely expendable to the earth at that point. And now look at just how gosh darn gorgeous everything is. Like, I mean, I think, and it really took like the feeling of like being breakable, you know, like just really being like completely at the mercy of like whatever was happening with the planetary forces happening that morning. That really informed like my appreciation and beauty for that scene at the time, I guess. So yeah, I guess just kind of embracing
I was gonna say I love listening to the album too. The elements of nature, either through sound or lyrics. I can appreciate that, and yeah, like the yin of yang of the storm, and then the beauty after. You have that through the sonically too.
Yeah, we have a lot of, we kind of threw loons all over the track. And partially because a lot of the tunes I wrote was just along some sort of Minnesota lake where there's a loon present. We have crickets, we have waves, we have thunderstorms. Yeah, all just kind of almost like trying to create the time capsule that those songs were coming from. Nobody really needs to know like the full context of all of that, but maybe that was almost like a selfish put in for me of like, oh yeah, I wrote this song like during a really powerful rainstorm when I was dealing with like a bad breakup, and that almost helped kind of harken me back to that moment or something. But, yeah,
it's kind of the salve on top of the salve. It's the salve of nature,
mm-hmm.
and then adding the music to it. And then it's a gift to give to us that we can listen to it, I think.
Hopefully, yeah. I think, I mean, the tracks themselves developed pretty slowly. They started just in my room with the guitar, and I think they really kind of just over time, there were concentric circles built around it. I think like I then shared it with, my three good mates. At the time, the original Dilly band was Will Keir on keys, Max Swoboda on bass, and Kevin Yetter on drums. And those were just like dear friends that I, just wanted to jam with. They placed their own, stamp of genius on those tunes. And then it grew, it breathed a little bit. We were playing, for a really long time. Well, in our timeline. We played live a lot over the summer around the cities and kind of just like let the tunes breathe for a little bit, trying things out, seeing what was working and what wasn't. And it wasn't until we felt like really confident that we had something that like, was still obviously growing, but like we could kind of put a recorded checkpoint on it, I guess, was when we went into the studio in August to track the records. And it wasn't until all of that was tracked that, I then decided maybe we could add horns to it. So then that's when the circle got a little bigger. And so then I invited two buddies, Mitch Van Laar on trumpet and Ivan Cunningham on alto sax to play over that, and wrote some of the horn parts for that. But and then beyond that, like that's kind of when the tune shifted as like, okay, this is something that like can be shared. Like it really felt like more for like just our own communities and our own friends and family. And we're kind of getting into that threshold now, as this new band of like, oh, like strangers could also maybe vibe with this, like that's weird. So yeah, I mean that's been like luckily a really like kind of a slow build over this year, and yeah, it's just exciting to share with more people like you guys.
I was gonna say, yeah, if you add horns, I don't know what it is, but I always think gathering or bigger, I don't know, parade, or just it feels like a big experience.
Yeah, no, that's actually, I've never thought of it like that. Yeah, certainly the decibel level goes off.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Right. I mean, yeah, you think of like the tax trumpet, like summoning the chorales. Yeah, I mean, it really like, yeah, brass is really good at bringing people together. And I think historically, like, yeah, like I think brass has historically been like a communal instrument, but and it also is just like a really great opportunity to like riff off of charts.
Yeah.
Like it's more melodic instruments. I mean, Ivan and Mitch are just insane instrumentalists, and it's just been so fun to play, a track like See How She Moves, which was entirely, like very composed horn parts. But then that last B section, you just open it up and you just let anybody do what they want. And I've been meant to go
Magic.
crazy over, and there's this co-creation that, like, yeah, there's just more, like, things in the pot to meld together and turn into all these different colors now, which is fun.
Oh.
But,
It's fun to hear how it's made. I love the horns on the song, but one of the things I was excited about when you said you were going to bring the guitars, I thought, oh, good, I really want to hear a different version of the song too.
oh, yeah.
Just to kind of, yeah. So,
Sure.
and you are holding a guitar. Would you play a song for us?
Yeah, sure. I will play Make You Whole. How can I do that?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Things That Make You Whole by Dilly, Dally, Alley. We've got Sophia in the studio. Gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was going to say your voice, it's so sophisticated and fresh at the same time. You have such a good balance of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. No, it's True.
Now, you were saying that you had kind of started this collection during the pandemic, but how did you come to music originally?
That's a good question. Well, I guess I say this a lot, but I kind of owe the musical DNA to my mom. She's a vocalist. She raised and reared us through music a lot. I have 2 older sisters, both who love to sing as well, and both are also instrumentalists. And I don't know, I think like when, you know, we would have like tantrums, or like my older sister would get like, I don't know, like a cookie and I couldn't, or something, whatever, I don't know. Like my mom was just so unbelievably good at like helping us metabolize pain through music. So she would have us sing the sad song like to calm us down or something, or like, I don't know, I think like she would write little tunes for us to like, you know, help us wake up in the morning or things like that. So it was just really built into like my sense of like my personal selves for like when, you know, I was, you know, struggling with something. Like she just was really good at like helping us metabolize pain through that. And I think like growing up, a lot of like our shared time together was like just through harmonizing and playing together. I started with the cello at 5. I chose it because I got to sit down. Like truly the reason why I chose it.
Kids are great.
Yeah, I know. Everybody else had to stand, so like it was just nice to be chilling while everybody was
awesome.
harder. But and was, you know, my mom was working for the church I grew up in at the time, so would kind of rope my sister and I especially into like, you know, playing little violin cello duets. And I was raised classically, just, you know, in orchestras, and enjoying music in a very like notated classical way, all while at the same time kind of strumming around in the guitar, starting at around age 10. And like I really loved Coldplay, and I loved covering their tunes. I loved Bruce Springsteen, I loved covering his tunes. And then got into Leon LaHavis, and just, you know, like wanting to like just having just really deep admiration for these artists that like didn't really know how to find the musical language to like even be able to begin recreating, because I was used to just like following the music on the page. But it wasn't until I guess I got into college and started jamming with other folks, and like honestly like finding just space in my like contemplative space in myself to like need to be able to like kind of build something more than just like build like a sonic diary or something. Like it was just, I just found like I ended up finding writing music just really, really helpful for me. But at that time it was just like completely for myself. And I think it wasn't until the pandemic that like at the time I was a social worker and had gotten just really was very involved in child welfare in Minneapolis. Went home for a little bit working from afar, so I had more kind of space to be doing things that like felt just really naturally in my wheelhouse, like just writing music. And I think that was this little tickle. That's kind of when the spark started of like, oh, this is something that like is really, really comforting to me, and sharing it with like family members and friends like is comforting to them too. And that, yeah, just very slowly built upon itself, I guess. Yeah, I feel like I time a lot of like my songwriterness coming out like with almost like the pandemic like rising and falling. It really like marked that change for me, for like it did for a lot of people, I think. Yeah.
Well, we've talked to a lot of people about music therapy in the past, but I never really had a clear vision of what that was like until you talk about your mom teaching you or working with you to sing sad songs when you were going to. And I mean, it's so simple as that. I'm like, I do not come from a music. In fact, I was with my mom and my sister earlier today. We were laughing at how notoriously unmusical we are. But so I just think it's an amazing tool to be given that, and then to have that way to a whole new handle. You gave me a whole new appreciation of what music therapy, is. I understand writing poetry and lyrics, but not the music. It really is a.
Yeah, I mean, your whole bones shake when you sing. Like, your whole body is metabolizing stuff that, like, it digests the undigestible sometimes. And I think, like, I mean, it's akin to going out for a walk or yoga or, just, like, embodied metabolizing of pain and emotions. It's, like, it just flips a problem on its back sometimes, and it makes you feel like, and I think music in particular is such a connective way to do that, where like, I mean, the best shows you go to are ones where you go in just like maybe stuck in your own head about something, and then you leave being like just enthralled, like thinking about the same exact issue, but just feeling so much less alone in dealing with it, or just feeling like somehow, no matter, like the artist had no idea what you were going through, and yet just spoke so deep, like more deeply to you than any other therapist or person.
Yeah, you're like, can you hear my thoughts right now? Because I feel like you're seeing them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you ever bring music into the social work that you were doing?
That's a great I mean, I got instruments for kids. Like, there were, like instrument drives and stuff. When I was a school social worker, working with, like, it's just a family support worker trying to get kids involved in other extracurricular activities. I mean, I got a kid a drum set, but I never, like, I taught children, like, privately, cello.
Yep.
Yeah, I never actually put those two together. I mean, I recently, like, played a gala for the old nonprofit I worked for. Like, but I never, like, if I ever were to go back into that field again, like, that would be a really interesting thing to try. And I know people who do, so.
I just occurred to me, yeah. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine how happy the mother of the new drummer.
Yeah. Or maybe
upset. Thank you cards.
She's probably like, oh my god, what is Sophia just doing? I can't get any headspace anymore. No.
Do you still do lessons with kids? I mean, I think it is such a. I mean, as I said, I have this whole new appreciation of what it.
Yeah, on occasion. I mean, I think like in terms of like what I like to give the kids. I teach cello primarily because that's just what I know the technique most about it. The thing is though, like cello was just such a different way to be like to think about music, at least classically, that like it almost felt like really disembodied. Like growing up, like like you kind of learn to be like, oh, I don't want to practice, but I have to practice anyways, or like I'm going to practice these really, really boring scales that don't fit in my body yet. So like, but I'm going to do it over and over again, almost force my body to get that into shape, or like, I think like the biggest challenge now for teaching kids is like, I don't have this like form or criteria to like be able to, I don't know, like to tell kids like, okay, you hear this tune, like you don't know any of the chords, but like can you plonk around with it and just see what sounds good and what, like going more by feel, I guess, I think, and like or like like bringing it into their daily life, like when you're bored waiting in line for the bus, like can you sing yourself like what this song to yourself, like and just like have it kind of accompany you during the quiet moments of the day, or things like that. Just like being able to transform music into something that is like truly for you. For the longest time, music was growing up just for other people, for audio, for the composer. Like you got to honor Beethoven's greatest intention. He's dead. Nobody actually really knows. It's probably an E flat, even though it's written in D right now. Like, but still, like you got to do this. You can't bow it that way because it's wrong, just really like, I think the past couple of years has just really been finding like my own agency in that again, and like finding other people who've already done that and do it so well, so much better than I do, and I don't know.
That would be a fantastic, as someone who took piano lessons from Sister Zita, that was not how we did it. And then I had a kid who did Suzuki violin for a while. That is not how they do it. And she, I mean, it was 6 weeks before she touched the instrument. It was frustrating to her. She does not play the violin. Although God love her, 6 months into it, I'm going to do a concert for everyone. I'm like, what are you going to do? I hope there's some singing going along with that, because I know it won't be. But
probably because the book told her to. Or so,
I don't know. Well, worse, she was in kindergarten, so she couldn't even read. So it was.
Right.
But to have it be more of a part of somebody, do it by feel and do it by.
Right. It's got to be for you before it's for other people. Like tunes got to be like. The reason why I take such joy in sharing music is because like it was just bouncing around in my head for myself for like a really, really long time. And that was like kind of my private empowerment to go into the world before I felt ready to like even just share what that was about. It's like a diary entry. Like you cannot prematurely share that, and you have to honor that, and you have to like almost vet that, and you have to make that a sacred moment almost. And if you do, I'm just of the opinion of like, I think there's a lot of beautiful movements going on in, you know, the Suzuki and the classical realm. I think there's a lot of people making transformations in good directions, but I think it's so sometimes like really skips that step, I think, of like, it doesn't really like matter how much you hate this piece, but you have to play it because the recital is in 3 months, and you know, like things like that. So
well, and you ask a kid what instrument they want to play, and they pick the cello so they can sit down.
Yeah, right.
They pick the biggest instrument they can find. They pick that one because it had a blue button. I mean, it is not at all tied. So if you made
just like reptiles as children, just
yeah,
like that, like,
that one. What's going to be most annoying to my mom? I want that one. Thank you. Yeah. But I think if people realize you still have to sell the kid on that instrument.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've chosen it for the dumbest reason you can imagine. You know.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say the dumbest, but the most obscure.
Right. Something that like really will not matter, like, you know, 20 years down the road when it's just like the way that you orient your whole world around. Like, yeah. It's and that's how most important things start, right? Like the people we love most, and I think the most like deep relationships I've had in my life are all like born from just like the randomest little happenstances. Like you see somebody at a show and you chat, and then you run into them 3 more times that same week, or like, you know, it's just like things that don't make sense are the things.
Well, that's pretty much how we hooked up together. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's just you see, we would see each other, and we had some mutual friends, but really just
really that's interesting. And when was the moment where you were like, we're gonna be?
She's a great dancer, and she caught my attention. I was like, she's a cool girl. She likes music and can be herself no matter what, and I was like, I could learn some stuff from her.
Wow.
I love so
that.
it is.
Yeah, isn't it fun? Yeah, it's just been right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you've talked me to doing triathlons and other things I have no business doing.
Together?
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Whoa.
Because she made me.
I've ever seen her scared. I'm always the scared one. I can say I've seen her scared.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
I have no business doing a triathlon.
You were the triathlon king, and then
you're
a runner.
You're a runner. You're a very
I
serious
see.
runner.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Wow.
Yeah. So the randomness of
cool
pushes you in those vulnerable spots. Like
you
said. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Could we persuade you to play another song?
Yes.
Awesome.
Let me play. Let's play "Give Yourself Up to Yourself."
Oh, good.
Single we released with Dilly. All right. Take back
Yourself Up to Yourself by Dilly, Alley on Mostly Minnesota Music on WMCN 91.7 FM in St. Paul. And we have Sophia right here in the studio with us. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I love that. Give yourself up to yourself. Where did you come up with that turn of phrase?
Oh, whoa. Well, honestly, it was from a conversation. I kind of co-written the lyrics of this tune with a good friend, Justin Halverson. And we were just talking along the shores of Bidemakoska, and it was honestly just born out of a very deep and vulnerable conversation about like those moments where I think like when you are your worst enemy is like that's just kind of the glue to hold you in stuck situations. Like when you can't, it's like the second arrow, just like when something bad happens to you, it's not necessarily the bad thing, it's like the way the shame you feel from that bad thing, I guess. And I think like that was kind of the mantra that we came up with from that conversation. Just like give yourself up to yourself. Like, you are your greatest, like for me, I always say like you are your greatest goddess to yourself. Like you are your greatest like force and like your greatest healing force to yourself, I guess. And all you have to do is just let go into that. So it's kind of where that conversation came from. And yeah,
I like the idea of it because goddesses aren't always good and they're not always bad. We can be our best or worst enemies. I mean that's But to recognize it, to focus on,
right. Same kind of mantra from what I was saying before. Right, just like use like your scars are your superpowers, and like I think really once you embrace that, the other lyrics are like what are your scars in your story that you have to shed, and like you don't know what healing your story could do, kind of thing. And just like being able to like in order to share like difficult situations with others, you need to like be able to give yourself up to yourself and like be completely comfortable in every corner of yourself.
Tall order, but it's good.
Right. That never happened. I mean, it's hard. Yeah. I can't claim that I'm like good at that.
Well, and the more that you sing it and the more that we hear it, we get better at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
You're like our cheerleaders for that kind of behavior.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Well, then hopefully, right. Like for that little vetted 4 minutes and 30 seconds time, like you can try that hat on and see how it feels, even if it's not always like happening in your life. And, I could never claim to like be able to do that all the time. And I think this is what helps is music.
Yeah. So you've got a show coming up at the Turf Club.
We do.
Tell us about that. And I have not seen you play live yet, so I'm excited about it because it sounds like the live performances are something else.
That's what we like to pride ourselves in.
Yeah.
We do a little balloon experiment.
I was going to say, so let's hear what some of this is.
I love the quirkiness of all that stuff. So,
well, so we make different renditions. I can't give the full details of it, but we make different renditions of it every show. But it always involves the audience members blowing up a balloon, and like sometimes we have you for one show is like the metronome show. It's like I want you to think of like your greatest wish in this world. Like what is your greatest dream? Like what do you want to bring forth in the world most? And like think of that. Think of your body in that place. Like what does that look like for you? And then blow up that balloon. And then the surprise secret at the end of the show is like, okay, now everybody has to take a balloon home, and like within the next 24 hours of that balloon popping or like shriveling into nothing, you have to make like one step towards that dream or something. Ooh. So like silly little things like that where it's like I really like one of my greatest wishes is like to be able to create like third spaces that like aren't just time bound. Like you go to some amazing shows, but then you go home and then you do nothing about it. Like I really do love to like try and make people create tangible shifts out of like the music that they heard, and so it might be something like that. And then for the rest, like we have everybody just bonk balloons around really really raucously for a song. And yeah, I mean, it'll be fun. It's gonna be with Prince, Prints, Prince. It's gonna be with Rebecca and Freak, who will be joining us on May 17th. So it's gonna be a really good show.
We're excited. We're excited to go see it. Yeah. And it'll be the full band, obviously.
Full 6-piece band. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Horns and the whole flames and everything. We'll have a couple more horns joining us for certain bits. We'll have some bongos, some auxiliary percussion. It'll be the full fair this time around.
That's exciting because you've been playing for a while, so you have a following. But as you said, this is an opportunity to play for a complete stranger.
Yeah. Right. I think this will be a really, this could change a lot for us. Yeah, this show, I think, and we are definitely pulling out all the stops for it in the spirit of that. So
that's awesome. We can't wait. Would you like to play one more song before you go?
Sure.
I should have asked that in advance. Sorry. It's up to you.
No, that's okay. Do you think I could play a song like a new song, maybe?
Yes, please.
Okay. How much time do I got?
All the time. All the time. I'll say we are excited to hear a new song by Dilly Dally Alley, playing at the Turf Club on May 12th.
I think they're playing somewhere on the 27th too, the White Squirrel. May 27th.
May 27th?
Yeah.
Yep. And then we have a June residency at the 331 as well.
Oh, fantastic. That's always a good.
So the song is called Wound Up.
Okay.
It's not yet released.
Awesome.
Staring down the barrel of my eyes. Fated love's a maze that I'm sure will straighten out. 'Cause without you life just feels like some sour empty house. I painted up a picture of you, then I tore it down. It crumpled, smoothed me out, it kept on spinning me around. And I swear it must have been a dream. It felt so razor real, I could hear love's softest sounds in my own games of deja vu. Every time I'm in your arms, I feel another one of my old wounds heal. Where do you think we're headed? The moon laid out her faded secret cards. Before she was born, gave birth and suddenly died. Ripped up letters written by castaway stars about the bees and flowers and fires of which we are a part. Holy places are the places we have seen and heard, and the crinkles of your lovely eyes between the lines
Dilly, Ellie. Thank you for sharing that new song for us. Thank you for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate your time and conversation.
Yeah,
It's really
very fun.
fun.
I learned a lot. So, and we will look forward to seeing you May 12th at the Turf Club.
May 17th.
May 17th.
Wednesday.
Okay.
But the album is out May 12th on the Friday.
That's the confusion. All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. May 17th. Good. Okay.
There we go. Check us out.
Yes. Yeah. What have we got coming up? Tina Shaleski, I think. One of the boys.
One of the boys. 16 Blue.
The boys.
Sorry, I did that for the computer.